I am now honored to give the floor for Her Excellency Ms. Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the UN, to deliver her keynote speech.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellencies, our guests, the AUC Commissioner for Economic Affairs, Mr. Harrison, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by thanking the Acting Special Advisor for OSAF and his team for putting together the events against this week. I really am pleased to be with you, and I add my welcome to all representatives of the African regional economic communities to this briefing today. It's an important segment of our Africa Week. Ladies and gentlemen, over recent decades, Africa has achieved significant progress thanks to the leadership of its governments, the African Union, the regional economic communities, civil society organizations, the private sector, and many other partners. We have seen advances in reducing poverty, economies have diversified, and the middle class is growing. More children, and especially girls, are in primary school, and child and maternal deaths are down. More women are serving in parliaments, and African countries are focusing greater attention on prevention. Africa has also set forth an ambitious vision in the African Union Agenda 2063, which aspires to achieve an integrated continent, politically united, and based on the ideals of Pan-Africanism and the vision of Africa's Renaissance. This ambitious vision has been driven forward by Africa's Development Programme, NEPAD, alongside pivotal regional and sub-regional institutions, including the regional economic communities, which have been a driving force for both economic integration and peace and security on the continent. We are delighted that Agenda 2063 has been developed and is aligned closely to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Implementing these agendas depends in large part on the success of Africa's regional economic communities as the key building blocks of the African Union. It is important that Africa can play a full part in today's globalized world. This means fair trade opportunities and better access to markets. It means access to more resources and financing for development and climate action. It means unlocking the opportunities of innovative finance and private investment. It also means that donors must uphold their commitments to official development assistance, but it also means that South-South cooperation must be supported and become a reality. Which brings me to the theme of today's event, Africa's regional and economic integration. We know open and competitive markets can enhance sustainable economic growth and alleviate poverty in Africa. Individually, African member states represent relatively small markets with limited opportunities for growth and market-based competition. But collectively, the continent's large and growing population represents enormous market potential, especially with growing urbanization contributing to rapid growth in consumption by households and businesses. Yet despite this potential, intra-Africa trade represents only about 13% of Africa's total trade. By building on this market potential and promoting regional integration, African countries could reduce their dependency on the sale of primary commodities and shift to value-added products, creating employment, reducing inequalities, investing in sustainable infrastructure, and ensuring sustainable economic growth. This could also make Africa a much more powerful player in the global economy. This is the vision enshrined in Agenda 2063. Establishing a continental free trade area, as agreed by the African Union in 2012, would be a major step in the right direction. Once established, it could be the largest free trade area in the world with 54 member states, a single market of over 1 billion people with young and growing population. It will boost inter-Africa trade, help African economies grow faster and more sustainably, and provide the much-needed opportunity for the continent's young people. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa has the fastest-growing young population in the world. 60% of its population is under the age of 24. This youth bulge represents an important opportunity for sustainable development in Africa. But Africa's demographic dividend is not a given. Properly harnessed, it can deliver a demographic dividend and sustain inclusive growth. But without the proper attention, it could also pose a serious risk. Harnessing the capacity of young people requires greater investments in education. especially in science and technology, to ensure a robust labor force capable of meeting the increasing competitive demands of today's globalized markets. If decent jobs cannot be created at a sufficient enough pace to accommodate tens of millions of newcomers to the job market every year, we risk the continent's youth being left behind. And that is why the African Union has chosen harnessing the demographic dividend through investments in youth as its theme for this year. It is also why the AU Summit declared 2018 to 2027 as the African Decade for Technical, Professional and Entrepreneurial Training and Youth Employment. Ladies and gentlemen, we often refer to Africa as a continent with immense resources. None are more valuable than its human resources. Africa's youth can play a major role in the continent's prosperity and development if they are equipped with the necessary skills through quality education and vocational training, coupled with the capacity building and technology transfer. Harnessing innovation and technology to develop new solutions to accelerate Africa's progress in Africa is essential. We could start unlocking this potential by bridging the gap between formal education curricula and existing economic realities, and also the demands of African economies. By the time a young person graduates from school, we must make sure that she or he has the skills required in today's rapidly evolving job market. Let us also help unleash their entrepreneurial potential to make them job creators and not just job seekers. Young people must also be given the opportunities to freely travel the continent to benefit from both job and education opportunities. This could not only open up young minds to entrepreneurial opportunities, but also foster cultural awareness and the solidarity that is needed to create an integrated and harmonious Africa. Success stories elsewhere should encourage us. Today, regional blocs in South and Central America, Southeast Asia, and China play a major role in the global economy. For instance, the ASEAN Free Trade Area was established in 1992 to eliminate trade and non-trade barriers and improve the Southeast Asia's competitiveness. Consequently, intra-ASEAN trade more than doubled between 1995 and 2010 and kept increasing to reach around 24% of global trade last year, and 40% if trade within China is included. We can achieve the same success in Africa, and there is no better place than starting with the young people, and especially our young women. We must empower Africa's women and girls. Gender inequality is costing sub-Saharan Africa tens of billions of dollars a year. This is an enormous and a needless loss of potential and economic growth. We need to truly integrate women into Africa's economies using existing women funds and platforms. An inclusive and integrated Africa will be a prosperous and vibrant Africa. In the same vein, we must promote the continent's integration. Continental growth corridors, industrial development policies, and cross-border infrastructure investments could provide youth with decent jobs and integrate them into global value chains. The flagship projects of Agenda 2063, including a continental free trade area, the creation of the African Virtual and E-University, the African Passport, and the free movement of people, and the Pan-African E-Network can empower African youth to realize Africa's transformative vision, as encapsulated in Agenda 2063. The transformative changes that are envisaged in Agenda 2063 can only be realized if they're forged around stronger regional integration. Today's meeting provides an opportunity for you as regional economic communities to tell us how you are contributing to the joint implementation of both Agenda 2063 and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and how the United Nations can better support these efforts. I look forward to hearing from all our distinguished experts on how the United Nations system can enhance its cooperation with regional economic communities and their member states. Together, we have embarked on a renewed partnership between the UN and the AU for the next 10 years. Our partnership encompasses the Partnership on Africa's Integration and Development Agenda, the joint UN-AU Framework for Enhanced Partnership in Peace and Security that was signed earlier this year, and the forthcoming UN-AU Joint Framework on the implementation of the 2030 Agenda and Agenda 2063. We believe that through these collaborations, we will continue to combine our ambitions for sustainable development, economic integration, peace and security, women's empowerment and investment in young people in Africa. Working hand in hand with dignity, with respect, with solidarity, we will also benefit the world as a whole, advancing the common global goals for peace, sustainable development, human rights, and human dignity. It is our duty, as highlighted by Agenda 63, to leave behind an integrated, united, peaceful, sovereign, independent, confident, and self-reliant continent, and that for the next generations. You can rest assured of the strong support and the commitment of the United Nations to help realize Africa's transformative vision and Pan-African aspirations as encapsulated in Agenda 2063. I thank you.